So the next thing we are going to be moving on to is the visual design. So we had our wireframe already, and that's the layout of what we are going to be designing. So the next thing we are going to be adding to it is arranging the text that we're going to be having there. So and then we are going to be adding colors to the part that is necessary for us to add colors to. And where we are supposed to use a specific color, we are going to be using the appropriate colors there. So but we need to know when and how and what are the why is it important that we use these or all these design elements that we're going to be applying. So that's going to take us to the visual design. So before we define what visual design is for us, so let's look at this illustration first. So this shows different products from different designers, and it's showing how designer implemented the uh, design elements in their design. So where they use shape, we have the shape usage, the color, and then the typography, the way they arrange the text there. So um so in the first class, when we define the UI design, we said it deal with the looks of the product, that is the aesthetic look of the product. But now they are telling us that the visual design is not limited to the look, that is the um aesthetic look of the product. So why they say that it's not just limited to the look and has more thing that is going to be doing for us. So the visual design that we are doing, so it should be able to express more than just the look. So it should be able to express feelings and emotions. So looking at this first character here at the left here, we have the character smiling, right? So the character is happy. So and looking at the other side, we have a character that is frowning. So that shows that what our design element that we are going to be using too. So they have to express um feelings and emotions. So now looking at these shapes that we have, so everything that we have here now is just the combination, is just the usage of shapes and their color. So we look at the first character we have here. So something like a circle, then like quarter of it is has different colors with spaces. If you look at the other one too, you have C. So the next four, they have like almost the same thing, C inside of them. Then what is around them is what is different there. So if you look at the rest too, they are also like that too. Can move on. So looking at this design now, so they've made use of different design elements, and then we have a product like this. So looking at it, we have the text that they are written in different weights, and okay, they are written in different weights, and also we have the color usage. So there's some part of it that we have the color that is different from the normal color they use for the rest of the text. So that's how the color as a design element is used in design. So that you use it to show where the important part. Sorry, I've skipped something. So you use it to show the important part of your design. So and that is what we are trying to show in this design now. So moving on. So what is visual design? What is visual design itself? So visual design is drawing someone attention to what is most important. So let's go back to the design I showed. So we have looking at this. Can you see the screen? Can you see the what I'm presenting now? Very good. So you can see that on some screens, the color text there, the color for the text there is black, but some are written in blue. So looking at it first, what do you read first? Is the only the blue that you read first. If I should ask you, the way it's moving very fast now, if I should ask you, what can you see? The first thing you will tell me is is what is the character that has the different color in the design, and that's because it's the most important thing there. So that is what we are talking about there. You use it to draw the attention to what it is most important. Okay, you know. So white also conveying what an emotion. So it's also expressing what emotion too. So let's go back to the design again. So this design are actually okay. Let's see. I can stop this. So we don't have any element that is expressing emotion here, so we can just move on now. So also visual design guide the user to know what to do next. So and just what the best example for this one is that, so let's say you are trying to fill an online form now, and you input maybe your password, and then you have something like a green outline in the border of the on the or of the text input. So what that should tell you is that what you've you've given the right information that you're supposed to give. So that's why it's giving you green that okay you can go. Like that's what with the that's one thing about color that is how color works too. So we know that green is something positive. Green is something positive. That's what we've known green to be. So let's say what if it's red? So we know that red is always something like related to danger. We've already known that. So it's going to tell you the next thing to do. Okay, maybe when you see the green outline now, then you know that you can click on submit and then you are good to go. But when you see a red outline, that means you are not correct. Or you see a red um pop up a text that is in a red that just pop up on the screen, that shows that what you are giving to as the input is not correct. Then you try again. So that's another important of what of the visual design. So also visual design is intuitive and based on set of rules. So that is when you have your design ready, you can have iteration on it. That is, you can go back to it and correct what you've done. Let's say when you are designing your product, use a particular color, and then you feel like, "Oh, I'm not using this color again." You can go back to it and then you change it. And then also they say that it's based on set of rules. So when you are doing that, you are not just doing that on based on what you feel like. So you are doing that based on a based on set of rules. So moving on. So we are going to be looking at the first design element now, which is the color. Um, so the first design element is the color. So like I said before that what when we started the UI the introduction to the UI UX, so we said UI deals with the what with the look of the product, and then the UX is how the user feels, um and how they relate to the product. So looking at this thing that we have in this box here, how is that related to UI that we said? So we are not seeing something like one beautiful color here now, but how is it related to the UI? So looking at the first box here that's labeled one, so this a user can just assume it to be a normal text, and then they will not do what they are supposed to do because it's a button that they are supposed to click on to perform an action. But since it's just written as a normal text, they can just feel like it's just normal text and they move on. So, but when you have it in a special color like this, maybe you were using black, and then you have something like this. So it's going to call the attention of the user that okay, this thing is calling my attention to something, and then they assume that is a button. So they click on it and then they do what they are supposed to do. So and that is what visual design is coming to do for us. It's not just coming for us to just come to beautify what we are doing. So it's coming to draw the attention of the user to the most important thing. So just like the rest too. And then looking at the last one, so I find out to get the explanation for this. But it just tell you that you have different options, then you've clicked on one before that, and then you have two options left that you've not clicked. So you are able to achieve that by using what? By using color. So I want you to answer this question now. Which one feels safer between this color? We have the blue and then we have the red. Which one do you think is it's safe? It's safer here? Wait. So are you with me? Please, I want you to answer the question here. We have the blue and then we have the red. So which one is do you think it's safer between both of them? Okay, anybody with another opinion? So that means I'm just going to move on. So looking at it, we used to know that um red is danger. So automatically I'm just going to believe that what blue is safer than what the red. So that's one thing that color is coming to do too. So when you want to express um success in your design, or you want to express something maybe just neutral, you cannot just come and use red. But we are trying to express warning, or trying to express something that is not expressing happiness, so you can just use red. Maybe as a feedback, you are trying to express something that giving a negative feedback, or you are trying to pass a warning, you'll be using what? The red. So looking at this one too, we said the blue is safer than the red there. But looking at this one too, which one do you think is safer now? Because I want you to answer this. Nobody. Exactly, because you used to know that what green is safer. So color on its own adds its own psychology too. So we have the color its own adds the way it affect the user. So color on its own has its own psychology. Let's assume you went for an event now and you don't know what they are doing there. Then you see people wearing white attire in Nigeria. In Nigeria. So what do you think they are doing? Anything like prayer cannot come to your mind. So what should come to your mind is maybe they are doing a wedding or any other occasion that is not even relating to prayer at all. So, but when you see people wearing black in Nigeria, I'm not talking about any other country, everybody's wearing black. So what you will think is that, are they doing burial? So that's how color on it. So that's how it affects the user. So in my, I'm putting in Nigeria because it might be in other country and then it's in different case. Maybe their own color to express luxury is black. So they are just going to take it for them as black. That's why the user research pathway is important. So we are doing user research. You see, we are going to be researching the user. Who are the user you are designing for? You are designing for somebody that believes that black is meant for what? For luxury. And then you are designing a product to show that this thing is luxurious product. Then you are using white, and maybe white to him means sadness. So it's going to affect him. It's going to affect him. There's no way it's going to affect him that this product is not for me. So let's move on. Um, I think it's something we've said before. So looking at this one, so you know the one that is weird now, of course. And why do you think? Okay, why do you think this thing like this? Why do you think is wrong? You have green and then you have the red, but there is another character inside them. So why do you think is wrong? Somebody should just meet the mic and explain. Why do you think it's wrong to have something like this? Exactly. Okay. Exactly. Exactly. That's the message that we have here. Sorry, excuse me. So that is what that's the explanation. So the this icon that we have here should be here, and then we have this should be here, because having something like a mark like this showing that you are, maybe after you are done filling the form, so that means that you succeed in filling the form, so you have something like a mark. So and it's meant to be on what? On a green that is expressing what? A safer condition, and then on the red that is not safe, so you have something like the cross on it. So that's just the explanation. Thank you, Aki. So you so again, you're telling that use color to draw the attention of the use color to draw the attention to the most important thing, like I said already. So when you design your product, so and you want to have your link there, and you have to have a button there, you have to make the button different from the color of what you've been doing before. So that's going to tell you that this thing is different from the rest. So definitely something that is very, very important. And then the way it will be designed too, applying other rules of design is going to tell the user that this thing is a link, then they can click on it. So looking at this design now, so we have, looking at the one on the right, so we have the background to be like something like black. Then okay, what do you think is important here? Like the first thing that I said that I think is important. Hello? Okay, let me just move on. So on this we have, okay, the one on the right, right? The one on the right side. Okay. Which which okay, I'm coming. The one in diagonal. So are you talking about the design that has the black background? Rectangular. Exactly, exactly. So the shovel play is written in a very a small font, then they put it on a color to show that this thing is important. So looking at this, and the first thing you will see, if you are looking at it from a very far place, the first thing you will see is the grain. So that shows that what is the important thing on the design. So they use some other things to show the important part of the design too. But for the color part, they put it on the shuffle. And then looking at the other design on the left, so we see some text written in blue. The normal text color there is black. Then we see some other that is written in blue, and that showing us that this this is important. So assuming on your Twitter now, everything there, when you have the hashtag and all of these things, and everything is using the same color that you have your normal text to be. So how are you going to know? How are you going to know that okay, this time I'm supposed to click on it? Do you get? Or let's say for an example, you are trying to tag someone. You are trying to tag someone. How would you know that you actually tag that person if the color is not changing? So they use color to show that that this thing is important, and then for the users to are able to know that yes, I'm able to add this, I'm able to tag this person in my post that I'm making. So now we're going to be moving on to the next element for visual design, and that is the typography. So, typography is the arrangement of a text that you are going to be having on your product you are designing. So how do you want to arrange them? So that's what the typography is going to want to deal with. So where do you want to have this place to be big? Where do you want to have this place to be small? Why do you want to make it right? Or why do you want to make the alignment to be right or left or centered and all of that? So that's what typography is going to be um based on. So you're saying that visual design on its own is meant to draw the attention of the user to the important parts of your design, right? So and how you can achieve this? We've discussed about the color part, and also I think this is missing part of E. This is missing part. Sorry, this is mixed up. I'm not done with color yet. This is a mistake. Sorry. So it said bring color into your product with photography and illustration. I'm not done with color yet. So that's a mistake. Sorry for that. So looking at this product too now, one of the best product that one of the best products or best digital product that you can see is the one from this Airbnb. So I think this is like they've changed this design, and the one I see out now is still very cool. It's still very cool. So if you look at this page now, you see how they use color there. You see how they use color in the design. Um so some tips that you should take note of them is that when you are selecting a color, when you are trying to select your color for the product you are designing, you have to pick a color that you are going to stick with. You have to pick the color that you are going to stick with, like your primary color. You can't just start designing now, then you use purple first, then you go on and use pink, then you use black, you use green, you use blue, you use red. You are just mixing up colors like that. You have to have a primary color when you are designing. Take note of that. And also accompanied with 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 text color and grace. So the grace there is the the white and then the black. So when you have your primary color, you can choose a color as secondary color too. Then you have your grays. So that's the white um and the black. So and another thing you should take note of when you are using white and black, avoid white with the color code of FFFF. So because from the research, so that color affect the eyes of the user. When you stay too long reading text in that color, so it gives user eye strain. And also for the black too, the same thing. Avoid black with the color code 000. So they affect the eye. So there's a way you can generate all these shape that all these color are different from the white and the black. So we are going to be talking about that. So we are going to use a plugin to generate it. You don't have to stress yourself. So you are going to get what you need. So let's move on. So this is what you are going to get when you use the plugin is going to be something like this. Then you can remove the one that has the color code 000 and the one that have the color code FFF. So let's say you are using a color, the color that you are using for your product. You say you stick to one color, right? So this is your primary color that you choose to use, blue. So you have different tint and shade for it. So then you can start applying them on your product that you are designing. So now I think we are already on the um typography now. So before we move on um to the typeface. What is typeface? So there is this there is okay, let me start this way. So typeface and font, there are two words that we use. Sometimes they say is the same thing, but really they are not the same thing. So typeface and typeface are different. So typeface is the style of the text that we are using. We have sans serif, we have the serif font, and we have the cursive font. So I don't know how I want to explain this. So looking at this typeface now is what is serif font. So what will make you to identify sans serif and serif font is that sans serif don't have extension like this. So looking at this P, so there is an extension from this place and an extension here. So sans serif don't have the extension. It's only serif font that has the extension. And also for the cursive font, so there are all these ones that they use um for like playful font. We are designing something like playful. That's when you use that kind of font. So just know the difference between typeface and the font. And font is what refers to this the version of the typeface. So let's say I'm using let's say I'm using the font family. What is it? Okay, let's say I'm using, which should I use? Okay, Inter, that's the most popular. Let's say I'm using Inter now. So Inter is the font family that I'm using. So the font itself is um Inter regular, and then the size is 16 pixel. So that's the font. So it's just that one that is the font. But Inter on its own is not the font. It's a font family from the typeface of sans serif. I don't know if the explanation is clear. So when you pick your typeface that you want to use, so you have to look at it that does it have variety of weight and styles, because the product that you are going to be designing, you are going to be using different sizes and weight. So your headers are going to be different from the body text. The text that you are going to use for the buttons too is going to be different. So you have to consider this when you are picking your typeface. So this is what you are talking about. So both of them now they belongs to types of what, sans serif. And then the fourth family, so then we have the each font from the family. So we have the thin italic and the rest, and for the open sans too we have different fonts under them. So these ones now, there are some fonts that don't have more than just regular and maybe bold. So you don't have italics, you don't have semi bold, you don't have all of this. So you have to look for the typeface that has different different fonts. So also you have to consider, are you using it for heading or body text? Are you using it for body or body text? You have to decide which font are you using for the body, the one you are using for the heading. You can choose to use bold for the heading, or you use semi bold, or you use medium. Some first has medium, and then you can choose to use for the body text regular, and then you choose the size that you want to use for it too. So why all these things is important is that you can have all of them as a as your design system, so that when you are working you can just pick them instead of trying to give size to your font every time. So you can just have the design system ready in your workspace, then anytime you just need them you just click on them and then it's going to change. So that's why it's very important that you have all of these things ready. So it's not just if you like, it's compulsory that you have them. So he said heading can be more complex. So looking at this text on its own, you can see the difference from the text that we have there and the text that we have here. So this text that we have here is what is the heading, and then this is the body. So the heading is what the heading is, the font for the heading is heavier, and then the size is bigger than what, than the font that the font used for the the font used for the body text. So when you're designing your product too, you have to create something like this. So let's say you are designing the Euro section of a website now. So when you have the main text, maybe something like welcome to our website or any other text that you want to have there, it has to be in a very um big font, and it has to be emphasized that you have to make it heavier than the rest of the text. So you cannot make it will be wrong when you make this the heading, you make it the font that is lighter and smaller as your heading. You now use the body of the text, like the body of the text, you now make it the bigger one. It's going to be wrong at that point. So another thing you should consider is that are all the characters differentiated. So the character of the heading should be different from that of the body text. So they can't be the same too. You can't use what you use for the heading for the body text. So they have to be different. A reader has to read something first before they move on to the next one. So the way you can achieve that is following the right rule of typography. Just like we have here now, you cannot come to this text now and the first thing you are reading is this. It's not possible. Normally it's not possible that this should be the first thing you read. So is it that you read this first or you read this first? And most likely you are going to read this bigger text first. Then you read this, then you are going to read the one with color. Then you come to this one that are not that don't have color at the right side there, and then you read them last. Normally that's how it will be, that's how it should be, and that's how it will be. So you have to create you have to use in your typography, you have to make your content, you have to differentiate them. So this is the illustration of what you have when you depending on the typeface that you choose. So for someone that choose this kind of typeface now, this kind of text that they are going to be having. So when you have when you choose a typeface, something like this. So looking at the text too, he said these letters are more differentiated from each other, so they will be easier to read at smaller sizes. So the second typeface, what about if we choose this that kind of typeface too? The letters are less differentiated from each other, so they will be harder to read at smaller sizes. So I think this is well explained like this. So what personality do you want to convey? So it will affect your typography too. So are you going to be choosing a serif font? Are you going to be choosing a sans serif, or are you going to be choosing a cursive? And I explained that most time they use cursive for like a plain font. Because you are designing for like um maybe a preview event is what you're trying to describe on the website. So it's not like you are going to be using that cursive font throughout. That will be like a part of it that I can use that kind of font. So you have to consider the kind of personality you are designing for too before you choose the typeface. So looking at this, we have the serious typeface, and then we have the one that is not serious. It says Sorcery Pro is harder edge and gives off a more professional and serious personality. So this font family now, so it says is they use it for what? They use it for a serious personality, just like I explained before. And looking at it is what is okay, is what is sans serif, um is sans serif. And then the second one too, that is Nunito. So they can appear unprofessional in most scenarios, but could be good for kids application. So we are trying to um design for a more serious personality. So you go for for fonts that goes with that kind of personality. So and if you are designing for personalities that are less serious, you go with font that goes with them. So it's not that you are going to be cramming all of these things. Sometimes you have to like make research. So just use Google and make research. Professional sorry, serious font, or font for serious personality, font for kids, something like that. So you are going to have your answer, and then you are going to be able to choose the font that you are going to be using. It's not as if you are going to be cramming name of fonts and all of that. So how do you combine typeface? How do you combine typeface? So the rule number one is what you have to create contrast. So you talked about this before. You cannot start a product now, and on the page, all text that you have there, everything they are in the same sizes. So everything from the beginning. You make them the same size of the pixel they have, and then the size of the text too is the same. You are not creating any contrast. So that will be at that point it will be wrong. So because you have to create a contrast. I have to read one first before I read another one. If everything is the same same size, so I don't know which one to read first. I don't know which one to focus on first. I don't know which is more important. But when they are in different sizes that I have contrast already, so I know which one to go and read first, then the one to read next. So the second rule is that what only change a thing at a time. So you can only change one thing at a time. So let's say you choosing the font family Inter now. You choose the font family Inter. So and then in your header is bold. Your header is bold, and then the font family that uses is Inter. You cannot move to the body part and then you go and choose another font family. No. The only thing you can change is the is the what's it called? Is the weight of the text. So you make the heading bold, then you make the body text, you make them regular. So you can only change one thing at a time. You cannot just change everything at a time just like that. So looking at this text now, we have the bigger text here, that is something representing the heading, and then this is representing the body text. So looking at it, what will you see first when you are looking at it? You are going to see this first, and that is what is most important. So what you see next is going to be in in a lesser weight and smaller size. So that means that it's not as important first uh at the first element that you are looking at. So let's look at another illustration for that. So I'm more important, I'm important, I'm not important. So you make this bigger than this, just the font size. The weight is still the same thing. This is still bold and then this is still bold. But you only change what? You change the text size. Let's look at another illustration. So you make this what? It's still the same thing. You're using bold, right? Yeah, bold, and then the size is different. But you choose to change the color for this one. You decrease the opacity of the second text. So that's how you combine typeface when you're trying to combine typeface on your product that you're designing. You can't make everything from the beginning to end to be like the first one. So the designer won't know the one to focus on first. You don't know the one that is important. You don't know what that is less important. You know the first one to read and then the next to read. So let's look at another illustration. Another way you can do it is by using the changing the color. So this text now they have the same size, they have the same weight, but what they have different color. So looking at it, looking at it now, the one you will see is the one that has a kind of special color before you read the second one. So you can have something like this too. You can also have something like this. You change the typeface, and then what else is changed? Okay, the typeface is changed in this one, and this is changed. And the size of the text is changed. So that to show that the first thing that we are seeing here that has the biggest size is the one that is important, and the second one is what is less important. So take this pro tip. So choose one sans serif typeface and only use that typeface with variety of weight and sizes to create a typographic hierarchy. So when you design your product, main typeface that you should use is sans serif, the one that don't have an extension like I've explained already. Those one that don't have extension. So because they seem to be more serious than the other typeface. So you choose them, and then when you are choosing the two, you choose one that have different fonts, not the one that just have the not the one that has the style that has the bold and then the regular. So you choose one that have regular, bold, medium, that a lot of size, because when you have on a page, when you have a lot of information now, you have to create hierarchy there, you have to create contrast there. So and how you can do that is by by changing the property of the text. So you can choose to use bold, the semi bold, medium, just to show the contrast when you have a lot of um content in the page. So looking at this um typography now, we have the first text. This is a heading, this is a subheading, this is some paragraph text. So we have hierarchy, and now we have this one to be the biggest, then this one followed, and the main text on the main text follows. So let's look at the tips that we can use when you are trying to combine font two. So stick to one font family. No, so that's already be said. So we are using Inter now. Everything you want to use on that project should be Inter. Everything that you want to be using there should be Inter. So that way you are saving yourself from unnecessary stress, because everything that you are changing now is still within the same family font. So font family, sorry. Avoid using all caps. Avoid using all caps. So let's say on your product tab, from beginning to end, everything you now use is um all caps. It's not even readable to most users. It's not readable. Trying to using cap or all caps for your text is not readable. But at some point, it might be necessary for you to use caps. But using all caps on your product make the text that you are writing, make the text that you are putting on the product not readable. Also, another tip is don't change the letter spacing. So the default spacing that you have there, so that is enough for you to use. Also, left alignment is most legible. Left alignment is most legible. So if you go through your product too, your most of the product that you use too, you see that most of them are left aligned. They are left aligned. Sometimes you can have it to be centered aligned, but most times you might not likely have it to be right aligned. You might not have it. So most times always left aligned. So we are designing your product too, choose to follow this tips. You rarely have something you always have you rarely have situation where you have to make it right aligned or center aligned. So and like we've said before, that it's not every time that you have to invent. So there's always a guide that you have to follow, and most of them are done based on the research. So that part I said that you should not use blacks with with the code 000 is from research. It's not as if somebody just came up with that. So the line length should be a max of 80 character. The line length should be max of 80 characters. So when you are putting a content on your product, so you can't just make it excessively long like that. So the line length too should be, maximum of it should be 80, should be 80, because when you have so much characters already, the user will get tired, and they might not even read it. But when you have it summarized and it's less than 80, so you still have hope that you are going to read the text like that. So that is the end for the typography. So next thing is the effect. So this has to be discussed on. Most times, beginners most times they try when you're trying to learn design first. So all these effects are extras. They are extras to your design, and sometimes might use them inappropriately. So you have to be careful about this too. So let's look at some of what you have here. So the first thing is that what avoid adding effect unless you have a good reason. So before we move on to the next slide, so what effect are we actually talking about here? So the most common one is the shadow. The shadow. Most times when you see design from a beginner, you know that oh, this person is a beginner, because most times they always use shadow. Everything they will put shadow. So it's not every time that you put shadow in your design, or you can finish your product from beginning to end and you don't put shadow in anything if you don't need it. So you should put it there only when when you have a reason for it to be there. You can't just put shadow there if you don't need it. So okay. So effects include what? We have border, gradient, drop shadows. So the information there. Yeah. So those are the effects that we have, and most times designers use them inappropriately, and we should take note of them. We should only use them when we need them. So you really only need to use color, shape, spacing, type in your design, and sometimes border. So like I said, it's not every time that you need to put some of these effects in your design. You might finish your product from beginning to end and you don't put any of this shadow there. So it's possible. So you can only just put them when you need them. So let's look at what effect we do in our design. Let's look at what the effect we do in our design. So looking at the first text that we have on the left side, it says, I am a card. This card is not in a box. I am a button. Then we have the second one that is what? That is put in a box, and those are the text says. So this design now is a card that you have on the product you are designing. So and when you are designing a card, you have to make it clear that this particular thing that I'm putting here is a card. Let's say you are designing for a e-commerce app now. They want to display a product, like different products now. It has to be in different like different boxes. This one is different from this one. Here you have the bag that is, you have a bag that you put all the information beneath it. You have another bag that you put information beneath it. You have the shoe and everything other thing like that. Each of them have to be in a box like this. So that will show that this one is different from the other one. But if you have it just like you have on the right side there, the user will be confused. They don't know which one we don't know how they are related. You get. So at that point, it's important for you to use what? It's important for you to use something like a box, or you use border. So that is that. So this is another way that I can do something like that I've explained already. So you can choose to put it in something like something like a border like this, or a border like this. So and you can, what if you have this just like this down, you have the same color. So at that point you can use the shadow too. You can use the shadow. So it will be created in a way that you have know that this thing is different from this one. That is, this thing is a box on its own, and then this is another entity on its own. So those are the case where you mostly need to use all of these things. So um this part we use what the background color, and this part is background color. It's not every time that you just go and put background color. Let's say you are designing an illustration now. You now have a text on the image that you use as your illustration. You're not gonna give it background. You might not need it. You might not need it. So it's enough just to put the text there like that and you leave. So it's not every time that you need to put all this background and stuff there. You can only put them there only when they are needed. So and a tip that you should hold. So drop shadows and gradient are extremely difficult to do well. So yeah, like I said earlier, that when you see design from a beginner, it's very easy to know that okay, this is coming from from a beginner, because the way they use the shadow, you know that exactly this person is just learning. So you get better in all of these things as you practice. So and then as you are growing in learning, so we learn from different places: YouTube video, Instagram reels, content on Behance, Medium, Twitter, everywhere you see anything related to design, that's how you learn and that's how you get better, especially when you are dealing with gradients. So where the problem will start is which color are you supposed to use to make it the gradient. So most times what causes problem in gradient is the color, and then this drop shadow is how do you want to use them. So one tip that I'm going to give you on the drop shadow is that anytime you are adding drop shadow using Figma, don't use the default setting for the drop shadow that you see there. Don't use the default. So try to like change it, and then you don't make it too um you don't make it just an unnecessarily much. You make it just unnecessarily much. So that's the tip I have for you for this shadow there. So for the gradient, it's very hard. It's very hard. These are the first thing you have to master first is the color. So once you've gotten how you can use two color together or more color together, so it's going to be easier for you to work with gradient. So just like I explained, so look at this box, look at this one on the right side and the left side. So it's when you have more than one, or for the right side, when you have more than one card like this, it's very difficult for you to differentiate because it's not showing clearly that this is a box on its own, because the way they use the what, they use the shadow. So this shadow now, what is wrong is that it's spread. It's not supposed to be spread like this. So it should be around like one is enough. So this one that is like one, that's how you are still seeing something like border there. So for this one, you make it spread. So if you have more than one box there like this, you won't be able to differentiate between the two of them. You even think that everything is just on the product. Just you be confused, you don't know what to do first. So that's the application of the effect, and then the gradient too. So I said that where the problem will start is choosing the color. What is only wrong here is because of the color. Because of the color, because of the color that they use. So if getting the color, the color is very hard for you to use. It's very hard for you to make ingredients. So it's better that you just stay away from it because they are not important. They are not important. Just stay away from it. So this at this point you are already at the end of this class. So if you have any question, come on, fam. Come on, fam. Yeah.